I don't know why anyone in Michigan would be interested in chaos, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. Here's an image from Hurricane Ike, which devastated the Gulf Coast at the same time in September that the markets crashed. And so it just was like a non-event except for 13 million people who are still struggling to recover. I'm on my way down to Houston after this, so I'm going from one disaster to another. But it's my work these days, and I'm really happy to do it. But I'd like to, there are, of course, many answers to this question of what's going on at this time. And I'd like to make 2 points. That what we're really experiencing is not a financial crisis. It's a crisis of a world that has organized itself around the values of money, greed, and competition. And we also got ourselves into a huge mess by thinking that we could just grow and grow and grow and it would have no consequence. So this is just about my favorite quote. You know, never in the history of the world have we faced so much complexity combined with so much incompetence. But there really is a question that many of us were in for years, which is we're creating systems that are unmanageable. We're thinking that bigger is better. Well, that's only a little ego assessment on the part of, you know, certain leaders. But actually, bigger is just more complex. So here we are, we're in this mess. Here's another picture from Hurricane Ike. You may have seen this photo in the news on Galveston, the one remaining home, which at Christmas time they decorated it with lights, which I thought was very moving. But we're in a position where we are experiencing chaos. Just think of the words that are used: meltdown, collapse, catastrophe, oh my God, what's happening? And it's really time for us to realize that chaos does play a role in life. Do any of you have any notions based on your own life of what is the potential role of chaos? If you could just call out, I'd be interested in seeing where. Shake things up a bit. Renewal.
Attention.
Getting attention, getting our attention, yeah. Balance. Creating balance, rebalancing. Potential can come forth, opportunity. Yeah, now sometimes it's really hard to think about this, but you as leaders in this community really do need to understand that this is an opportunity. Chaos is always used in the cycle of life, and it's important to realize we're in a cycle. You know, it's seasonal. Things are good, and then they're bad, and then they're good, and then they're bad. As David White, the poet, said, if you think life is always about going uphill, improving, and being good, you're going to miss half of it. So now we're in that bottom part. But while people are distressed and grieving over lost dreams and opportunities and suffering terribly, I do believe it's our role as leaders to realize this is the moment for all living systems when new birth is available. But the critical thing that leads to what comes next, what is born out of chaos, the critical thing are the values we choose to organize around. And I'm just praying fervently that we're going to choose to organize around values of community, being there for each other. How often do you hear the phrase these days, we're all in this together? Well, I think we're going to start to notice what that really means. And many of you already know what it means. But as a culture, I think this is the recreation moment for America, and it will be whether we choose new values that are based on collaboration, being together, healthy relationships, and ultimately seeing that truly, whatever is the problem, community is the answer. And there's a certain role for us to choose to play or not, and it's this quote from a wonderful activist in Germany who's gone now, but who said that when an old culture is dying, the new culture is born by a few people who are not afraid to be insecure. So this is a question for all of us. Are we willing to be those who step forward with, under the banner of community, or being willing to be insecure as we explore what it means to be in this together? And some of us will relish the insecurity and others of us will fear it, but it's unavoidable to feel insecure when you're trying to give birth to new ways of being and working and doing life in the midst of an old culture that is dying. So if you are feeling insecure, if you are feeling fearful, that's really normal. The question is what you do with your fear and what you do with your uncertainty. Do you just try and hold on to the old, or do you just plunge into the unknown and really say, okay, there's no hope here anyway, so we may as well just go for it, That's the real opportunity. And it's not about feeling without fear, but fearlessness, which was in the title of today's talk. Fearlessness is actually a condition of acknowledging our fear, but not letting it stop us. Just going into it so we come out the other side. So this is the banner that I'm marching under, that there truly is no power greater than a community discovering what it cares about. I hope you know this to be true also. If you can think in your own experience when you've been part of a mobilization of the community, or a group within your church, or within a school, or within a college, and what power came forth to actually change things because people were truly together. And I hope many of you, if not all of you, have had that experience. Now, this whole move to community is actually just getting us back in touch with the way the world works. For so many years, quantum physicists were struggling to find the basic units, the basic building blocks. And over 100 years now, in the research that's been done at the subatomic level, we've discovered that it's all about relationships. Here we have science confirming for us that you don't see anything at the subatomic level until it collides. That's why we build these huge super colliders, because we can't see what's there until two masses of energy meet each other. So this is quite interesting, right? I mean, this isn't soft, this is hard science. And then there are these wonderful teachers all over the planet. This is one of my favorites, the grove of aspen trees. How many trees are in this picture? One, yeah. What's interesting about aspen trees is the way they reproduce. They send out roots, and then a tree pops up. And for me, they're a wonderful embodiment of what is a basic spiritual teaching of just about every major faith, that we are all one. We are all one. Jesus said, if ye are not one, ye are not mine. And we just need to remember that we are all interconnected like the aspen trees. At a level we can't see and we pretend it's not there, but it's a basic reality of existence. This idea of individuals, that people make it on their own, is definitely a man-made fiction, and I choose that gender specifically. Because it's the role of the lone hero, the person who will help us, the person who provides, but who, makes it on their own and doesn't show emotions and all that nonsense that came down on us in Western culture. A biologist has said to me, if you go out in life in a field and you try and understand anything that's going on, you never understand it by looking at a single flower or a single rabbit or a single deer. You have to see the relationships, because the fact of existence is that nothing living lives alone. Now, I think we all know this, but if you look at how we behave in our offices and in our communities often, you know, we struggle through this veil of competition, or, you know, only the strong survive, and it's all garbage. One of the things I love about what's happening in America right now is that people are really rediscovering that we love to help each other, that we love to be generous. So it seems that every week now there are reports on the news of people who hold on to their jobs by working one day less, you know, and making that time and money available to their colleagues. Or even doctors at Beth Israel Hospital were featured, where they took a pay cut so that the kitchen staff could hold on to their jobs, even people they don't even know. And in so many of these reports, we're finally seeing what I always saw, that when we're in good, you know, when we're at work, we're there for each other. I mean, we would rather help each other than not. And there's been a lot of nonsense and a lot of diversion about, well, you motivate people by pitting them against one another. That has never been true, by the way. Never been true. But now at least we're starting to see it. You know, as workplace after workplace, people step forward and say, well, I'm not in this for myself. I want to help my brothers and sisters here at work. So of course I'm going to take less pay. This is good news for America. And here, this, you know, collaboration between species is one of the yeah, this is my photo. But this is a dove who adopted a baby monkey and took care of her. And there are more and more of these stories coming up on YouTube videos of, you know, I just saw a raven taking care of a kitten and the two playing together as adults. So we have a lot of these examples. We just haven't been willing to see the extent to which this planet runs on cooperation and collaboration. And we think it's just something maybe we should look at now when times are hard. But in fact, it's the only thing, and I think you know this, it's the only thing that makes us feel good about being human, right? People we want to be with are people who are open and loving, and, you know, we like, they're interested in us. So it's never been about competition, except when we got caught in this economic craziness. Now, this is also a quote from a quantum scientist who said that the way to think about everything alive is that it's a bundle of potential, and it only shows itself when it's in relationship. Think about how you, depending on who you meet, become somebody different. Or some aspect of you that you didn't even know was there suddenly shines forth because you're in a different situation. You know, we're not fixed entities, and I have no patience for our discovery of lifelong learning. Because of course we're learning all the time, because we never know who we are until we're in a relationship. It could be with a person, it could be with a crisis, it could be with an idea, but we're constantly, you know, God said something very important in the Bible. He said, behold, I make all things new. What does that mean? Lifelong learning, I guess is what it means. But all, you know, newness is what characterizes life, and it can characterize us and the people that we work with. Another biological principle, and I'm just trying to give you the scientific foundation here for the importance of community. This has been a very powerful change technique for me, but I got it from biology, which is if we're struggling, you know, if we're a church group, a community group, a school, a family, an organization, if we're not doing well, the simple solution is to bring in more voices, bring in more difference, bring in other people who care about the issue but have been excluded. So just to strengthen the connections is the simplest way to create change. And it's not how we behave when we're under stress normally, right? When we're under stress, we tend to push away difference. We don't want divergent opinions. We just don't have time to think, so we just want to find the few people who will say, yes, do this. And of course, there are the people who think just like us. And so what we're really doing in that stress and that need to just act is we're really denying our health. We're moving in exactly the wrong direction. Now, the word health is really interesting because it says this in its own history. It comes from the word for wholeness, and the word for wholeness comes from the word for holiness. So it's right there in the word. We just seem to have forgotten it in our competitive craze. But you know, other cultures have not forgotten it. So I've worked in a number of indigenous cultures around the world, and that's where I've really learned the power of community. These children are Zulu children in South Africa. I like the little guy in front with his thumbs up. But the term there is Ubuntu. This is one definition, that we can be human only together. This is from Archbishop Tutu. But another definition is a person is only a person through other people.